You're here to learn about the power of quarterly pulsing. This is leadership development time. My name is Charlie Ray. Let's freaking do this. All right, so objectives for today is for number one, for you to be open and honest, open to learning and honest with yourself. What's working, what's not working, right, with what I'm about to present. Really, the end goal is for you to be developed as a leader, to be empowered, and then ultimately to be transformed. So those are kind of the main objectives today. In terms of the agenda, I'm going to be looking at a couple things in terms of what is quarterly pulsing, why it's important, and then ultimately how do you do it. All right, at the end I'll kind of give some next steps for kind of some reflection and a challenge for you. So let's go. What is quarterly pulsing? Well, in order to keep it extremely simple, it's intentional, strategic think time, okay, where you're working on the business every 90 days as a leadership team. All right. And so to better understand this, let's go back and think, what's the meeting pulse concept with EOS, right? What does that even mean? What is that meeting pulse concept? And so let me move this little guy up here. There we go. The meeting pulse concept is that every single year, every 90 days, you want to get together and you want to have a meeting pulse, right? That 90-day quarterly meeting pulse. So this is the 90-day world concept that EOS teaches and preaches. And it's basically the idea that for 90 days, you focus on working in the business as a leadership team, as a company. And then what ends up happening is things start to fray. You start to kind of get distracted. Things start to fall off. And so you got to come back and reset and refocus every 90 days. And you do that, and that allows you to go work on the business to then be more strategic as you move forward. So that's kind of the main concept here. Quarterly pulsing is great, but it leads to the 2-day annual. So starting backwards, a 2-day annual is where you do a 2 full days with your leadership team, and you guys are focused on team health. You're focused on 3-year picture, 1-year plan, and ultimately that 10-year target, or that 10-year picture of where are we going in the next 10 years? And so what it comes down to is saying, okay, the quarterly pulsing is every 90 days you're meeting as a leadership team in order to work on the business. And then we all know the level 10 meeting. Every single week you're doing a level 10 meeting. So I just kind of put 3, but really you would have about 12 or 13 level 10 meetings in between each quarterly. So about 12 weeks. And so that same day, same time, follow the same agenda, start on time, end on time. So this is the context and this is the concept of the meeting pulse idea or the concept, right? And so to take that, let's dive in and look today at specifically the quarterly pulsing. What does it look like, right? So why is this important? Number one, it refocuses. You're bringing every single person on the leadership team back together to refocus on the key priorities. And what this is going to do is help you guys have this one vision, one voice, one team that EOS does a great job of explaining, and not only explaining but executing how to do it, right? And so alignment is extremely important, but alignment without accountability, well, it's not very effective. And so you want to make sure, hey, what were the commitments that everybody committed to last 90 days? And then what do we want to do moving forward into the next 90 days, right? So you're addressing the gaps and the gains, looking at progress and overall growth edges. And then proactive problem solving. So you've been firefighting for 90 days. You feel exhausted. You've been constantly reactive. And now you're switching to proactive mode and you're trying to plan and proactively problem solve for the future. So, what are those key issues? How can you intentionally, strategically identify them at the root level, solve them one time for the greater good of the organization, and ultimately move forward with your leadership team? And as goes the leadership team, so goes the company. All right, so let's talk about the how. We've talked about what this is. We've talked about why it's important. Now let's talk about how. So the main 3 objectives, super simple: clear vision, get everybody on the same page. You're walking out of there with a clear plan. This is how we're going to execute this vision in the next 90 days. And then you're trying to resolve key issues. Okay. So you're not going to solve every issue, but you are going to resolve the key issues, and that's really important. So those are the 3 main objectives as you walk into this quarterly session. In terms of the agenda, I'm going to give you a general agenda, and then we'll look at some of the specifics. So phase one, you're just connecting and reflecting. You're taking time during a check-in as a leadership team to really go deep before you go wide, depth over width. And you're trying to focus on connecting personally, professionally. You're reflecting on, you know, ultimately, how are you doing as a person? What are some things that you've done well the past 90 days? We're celebrating wins, you're giving shout outs, right? You're encouraging each other, and then you're really setting the tone and setting the stage as you move forward. What would make today extremely valuable? It's an 8 hour session, right? And so, what would make this 8 hour session that we're about to invest in, what would make it extremely valuable? What are your expectations? So, it's getting 100% everybody connected and reflecting on the same page. And then, phase two, now before you move forward, you got to review and refine. So, we got to look backwards and say, okay, the past 90 days, what went well? How can we improve? What didn't go so well, right? Are there growth edges? And so that's where you're looking at your rocks and you're doing a deep dive into the past 90 days as a leadership team and also each individual, open and honest, right? What went well, what did not go so well, and what are some opportunities to celebrate the wins? Let's celebrate the gain, and also the gap that existed. What happened? Let's understand it so you can work faster, stronger, further, and be smarter as you move forward, right, to the next quarter. As you get into setting the stage for the next 90 days, where are we going in the next quarter? You got to be able to learn from your past. So that's kind of phase two. Phase three is what I like to call sharpening the saw, right? And one of the things here with sharpening the saw is you're slowing down to get really, really clear. You're slowing down to sharpen the saw, to take time to say, okay, we're going to slow down, sharpen the saw, and be really effective with cutting down the tree, right? And so you're taking time, you're taking about an hour to pick one tool, one resource we're doing a deep dive in. Also, one other thing, in the phase two, the review and the refine, you're not just reviewing the 90 days, you're reviewing the VTO, your business plan, right? Those 8 powerful questions, and you're refining them. So those two are kind of combined together, but this is just a general overview of it. All right, phase four, you're now casting new vision. So this is where you're setting those rocks for the next 90 days and solving the key problems that you have. So what are the key issues that you want to solve today, and making sure you're moving out of there 100%. Everybody has a game plan moving forward. So that's a majority right there. That is the majority of the session, right? But you can't move forward to cast vision and solve problems until you first have reflected, connected, reviewed, refined, and taken some time to really sharpen that saw. So at the end, arguably, everything you've done up till now has been great, but you must clarify. Okay, what are we going to do moving forward, right? Confirm everybody has to-dos potentially. You're getting everybody to say, okay, got it, right? What's your to-do? Got it. And you're clarifying, confirming clear next steps, and you're concluding with reflecting again. So you start with connecting and reflecting, and you're ending with this conclusion where you're connecting and reflecting again. Hey, what went well today? How could we improve? What would you give it a rating, right? 1 to 10. 10 is best. How did we do with our time today? And ultimately trying to say, was this the best use of our time? Yes, it was an amazing session. What made it so amazing? Let's try to capture those comments so we can repeat it in 90 days from now, right? So this is the 90-day cadence, this 90-day world that I'm talking about here. So that's the general overview. Now I'm going to give you the specifics, what you're looking for. So I put time on here. It could go a little bit longer or shorter depending on how fast or how many people are on your leadership team, and if you have an EOS implementer, right? Super important. But generally, you're going to start with a check-in. The check-in, you're building rapport, you're celebrating wins, and you're setting the expectations for the day, right? There's a lot more to it, but those are just kind of some of the specifics. Then you're going to review the last quarter. So before you can think about moving forward to the next quarter, where are we going in the next 90 days? You got to actually take some time and slow down before you speed up. It's kind of like imagining your business is a car and you're driving through this fog, right? There's just a thick, dense fog. You're not clear. would you really speed up? You just keep going. That's firefighting. That's reactive mode. So instead, slow down, focusing on how did you guys do with some of the key numbers, revenue, profit measurables, and really then you're taking that next step and saying, okay, now that we have learned what went well and how to improve, now let's take the VTO, those 8 questions on the vision, traction, order line. Let's take it one by one, and let's just review and refine it. How can we get even better with our VTO? Are we using it in the right way, right? So it's an incredibly powerful time where you're saying, let's 100% have this one vision, one voice, one united front, one team, and we're going to extract issues. Okay, so up until now, I haven't really talked a ton about the issues solving track, IDS. But before you get into identifying, discussing, and solving, you actually have to have the list of issues. And so hopefully you've been building a long-term issues list throughout the past 90 days. All you're doing, one of the things you're doing during check-in and review of your last quarter and review of the VTO, is you are extracting further issues. So you're updating all long-term issues onto that issues list. Okay, so you'll be doing that later. And then tool time. All right. And so now you're going to develop those key skills with powerful practical tools to work smarter. And so typically that's about a 60 minute. At some point you'll take a break for lunch and then you'll come back together and you'll spend, anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, 90 minutes. You're creating rocks for the future. And really here, you're doing this in light of your 1 year plan. So you have your 10-year target, you have your 3-year picture, and then you have your 1 year plan. All of those have been created in light of the greater good of the company. Where are you going in the next year? And based on that, 10 years, where are you going in the next 3 years? Where are you going in the next 1 year? So based on all that, you're kind of working backwards. Stephen Covey calls it begin with the end in mind. Based on that, move backwards. And now, okay, this is where we're going for this next year. So what needs to happen in the next 90 days? And you're establishing those company rocks, making sure they're specific, they're measurable. How will you measure that? All right, you can use a milestone way to do that. It's attainable. Okay, you actually can attain it and it's relevant. Is this really the right rock to be focused on in this quarter? Maybe it's a rock that's going to help you get closer to that 1 year plan, but it's not the right rock for this quarter. It's not the most relevant thing. And then time bound. Time bound again is that 90 days. So it's smart. You're doing it as a leadership team. You're also doing it as individuals, and you're using the keep, kill, combine method. Hopefully, again, you're using an EOS implementer to guide you through this. At the end of the day, everybody's walking out of there. They all should have 3 to 7 company rocks and individual rocks, right? So as a company, the company should have 3 to 7. And then these are the key, most important, mission critical priorities to focus on as a company. And then for you in the next 90 days, and for you, it's the same concept. What are the most important, key, mission critical, most important? If everything's important, nothing's important, right? What are those most important priorities for you to be focused on within your role, within the seat that you're sitting in for the greater good of the company for the next 90 days? Simplify, clarify, make sure everybody agrees. And the way to do that is you get the thumbs up. Hey, that's the right rock. Hey, yes, it's smart. All right. Then you spend the rest of the time focused on IDSing. So you're prioritizing and solving those key issues, identifying the root issue, solving it, and turning those solutions into an actionable to do, right? And so a to do is just a 7-day action item. All right. This is how you guys start to gain traction and keep traction. You're gaining and building momentum and you keep it, right? You get that flywheel going. So the IDS time is incredibly powerful. Now, what's the glue that's going to hold it all together and really set you up for a solid 90 days? How do you finish strong is the next steps and conclude. So typically 30 minutes, could go a little bit longer, could be shorter, but you're just going to review and recap kind of like you do at the end of the level 10 meeting. What's the to-do list? Who owns what? Get everybody to say, got it, got it, got it. Make sure it's all documented. All the rocks are updated. Everybody should know what to focus on. You're cascading messages out. Who was not here that we need to communicate something to? Is there any message internally with our employees, or is there external message that we need to communicate with? And then, you know, who's going to say it, and how are we going to say it, and when, and what are we going to say, and why are we saying it? So getting clear on all those questions, that's cascading messages. Feedback, you're taking real Slowing down, taking some real think time to say, what went well? How can we improve? What went well today? How can we improve moving forward if we were to do this again in the next 90 days? And you're gathering that feedback, right? How are you feeling? What did you learn potentially? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about the leadership team, right? So all powerful questions. But at the end of the day, you're just trying to say, at the beginning, we said we had these clear expectations. Were your expectations met? And then you're giving it a rating, 1 to 10. 10 means you set out and accomplished what you wanted to. So you had a specific expectation walking into this session. Did you accomplish it? Yes, it was a 10. It was a great meeting. Was this an effective use? 8 hours. Was it an effective use of your time today? Yes, it was a 10. You're rating for progress, not perfection. 10 does not mean there's zero things we can do to improve it, right? It was perfection. No, you're not rating for perfection. You're rating for progress. Did we follow the agenda? Did we solve key issues? Were we able to have a clear vision and a clear plan on how to achieve that vision? Yes, and we did it in an open and honest, healthy manner. Awesome. Moving forward, there might be some things you could rate it a 10 and say, how can we get better? So that's really important. And then I like to always end with some sort of a highlight. Hey, what was your key takeaway or highlight from today? What did you enjoy most? So at the end of the day, you're taking the next steps include, and that's the glue that kind of holds it together. So that is your specific agenda on how to do it. All right, quick tips. So if you're really serious about doing this, you want to do it the right way, use an EOS implementer. Okay, people like me, we're going to act as a teacher, facilitator, and a coach. We're going to help teach you the EOS basics, the concepts. We're going to help facilitate healthy discussion and coach you, helping you getting from point A to point B faster, further with less frustration. So if you can fit all three of those hats on, three different hats. Oh, and by the way, you also have to put your hat on because you're a participant, you're a player. It's very difficult, right? You're inside the bottle. It's hard to step outside of the bottle to see the label. So it's really helpful to have that outside resource. So that's the pro tip I got for you guys. Again, I'd love to be your implementer. You can reach out to me. If I'm already working with you, let's go. Let's keep working. Offsite, do it offsite. Get away from the normal day-to-day distractions, right? Consistency is key. Follow the same agenda and you do it every 90 days. You're building familiarity and momentum and then progress over perfection. I kind of already mentioned that with the rating, but at the end of the day, you're trying to build and sustain healthy momentum. Clear vision. This is where we're going. This is how we're going to get there. Traction. We're going to have focus, discipline, and execution back on that vision. Healthy. We're open, honest, highly functional, and we have vulnerability-based trust. Let's maintain this amazing health that we have as an organization by having an extremely powerful 90-day meeting in the 90-day world, which we call quarterly pulsing, right? So you're trying to shoot for 80% of your rocks being done. Great quote to end with. You're going to repeat the same quarterly meeting pulse forever, right? You stay in the 90-day world forever. You'll find that these meetings will get better and better and better. So just like your level 10 meetings, if you look at the first 3 to 4 level 10 meetings you've ever done, as opposed to compared to where you're at potentially now, they probably look a whole lot more powerful and better, right? And so your next steps, do it. Go ahead, schedule this 8-hour time. It's 8 hours. It's an investment, but it's a time to help you slow down to speed up. Do it right now, get offsite, commit, go all in, use an EOS implementer. You can reach out to me, be more than happy to help you and guide you in the right direction, but prioritize and protect it. And like I said, reach out if you want help. So, all right, time to do a quick reflection. We're 18 minutes in, 19 minutes in, what just became clear? What was one or two things that became clear from this video, from this powerful, explanation of what quarterly pulsing looks like? What was most helpful from today? So hit pause on the video, think about it. What was most helpful? What's your one action step? What's one thing you can do? If you're already doing quarterly pulsing, what's one action step you can take to improve your quarterly pulsing to get even better? And then finally, what was your overall highlight, right? You just invested almost 24 minutes into this video. You're probably watching it on double speed if you're like me. And so at the end of the day, what's your overall highlight, right? What did you enjoy from the time that you just invested? Guys, I really appreciate you watching this. This was the power of quarterly pulsing. My name is Charlie Ray. I'm an EOS implementer, and this was leadership development time. May God bless you. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you in another video.